baby. We live in Brooklyn, baby.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, hold on a second. Was this supposed to fade in? Is your shit playing?
Yeah, it's playing.
Oh, okay. So
whatever.
But no, Ken was actually playing the intro music, so to try to fade in. Doesn't
All right, so you just give me a heads up and I'll.
Yeah. I just realized that we didn't tell you. But in any case, back to Tebow's bum ass. Back to the Jets. What we said before the break is you thought that they didn't have many options. You think of it this way: these are the wide receivers that were out there. Braylon Edwards, once again Plexico Barris, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. Those are the I guess the guys that had some notoriety at some point during their career. The quarterbacks that they had out there was Gerard.
Now I agree, they definitely could have got a better backup quarterback.
Oh, hell
I think
yeah.
they did that for publicity. But as far as wide receivers, even the Randy Moss thing, that was one of those situations where I don't think he would have came to the Jets if
Well, you know
for
what?
whatever. Now Terrell Owens, you're asking for trouble.
Why? What the fuck are you
trouble?
talking about?
Hold on, you already have an issue with your starting quarterback and your number one wide receiver in Santonio Holmes.
Okay, what trouble did T.O. pose in
the
Buffalo?
past 4 years in Buffalo? Nothing.
Okay.
In Cincinnati, nothing. Everyone goes back to his Dallas days.
Listen, and I understand that. And it's been way before his Dallas days too. It wasn't just in Dallas.
It was the beginning of his career up until his Dallas days. Then after that, he was on two other teams, and nothing happened.
Right, and
he was productive.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not as productive in Buffalo. He wasn't that productive in Buffalo.
Okay, put it
That's
this way.
probably because they stunk, but he was better than Chad Ochocinco was when he was in Cincinnati.
And this is what I'm trying to say. Because if you
But Chad
factor in
Ochocinco was a non-factor.
But if you
it's one
factor
thing
in-
of being not really productive and then being.
I understand what you're saying, but think of it this way: he was older when he was older when he was in Cincinnati than he was in Buffalo. And his last season in Cincinnati, he went for 1,000 yards. What was it like? How many catches? It was like 70 something catches, 70 something catches, and over 1,000 yards.
And this is pre-major knee surgery, and he's like what 40 now.
Like
and he just ran a sub 4.5.
And he 40.
Right, but
he ran a 4.40.
But he didn't get popped on those legs yet.
Well, see, when you're talking about
Well, listen. When you have nothing coming into camp, it's worth giving this dude a stinking $1 million.
which is what they gave him. They gave him the league minimum for veteran, and you mean to tell me the Jets couldn't scratch up a 900,000 for him? Now, mind you, the fact that T.O. was there, I think if anyone had known that T.O. was going to be there, everybody would have said that they were staying retired and shit. Because I don't think anybody wants that fool to throw to you. Because if you're a guy that's a stats hog or anything like that, with T.O., I mean with Tebow, you're finished. You're absolutely finished. You're not catching shit. Right. So.
But anyway, we shall move on to
the Jets suck,
something more insanity-like.
Yeah. For those people that know me in my personal life, by my regular name and everything like that, knows that I'm a huge fan of music, and I have now I'm up to 250 gigs worth of music from everywhere from like the 1920s, mind you, up until present day. And I've always said that the music, that everything, all forms of entertainment now today, to me, has completely been dumbed down to the point to where it's unrecognizable to me. And most people of this generation they want to do what most people do. You're a hater. You're old. You just want to talk about your heyday and all this other stuff. Stop hating. It's the new generation now. Blah 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 blah. And I would always try and articulate to them that I'm not trying to be a hater. I can tell you, like, if you look at a movie like The Godfather, and then you look at Michael Bay's Transformers or some shit like that, you can clearly see that one is a better structured film. Same with music, but I didn't know what terminology to use and all the rest of that stuff. And then I had an article sent to me, and it says on the title of the article, if you want to try and Google it or whatever, is all the songs do sound the same. Modern pop is louder, less varied, and uses less chords than classic albums of the 50s and the 60s. So that means basically less variety in chords or melodies in songs released now. Analysis of 500,000 pop songs from 1955 to 2010. Songs in 50s and 60s had more variation, claim researchers. So right off the bat, I just want to ask 8. Now, you've been playing 90s hip hop so far during the breaks, and what you guys out there hitting for you 3 people that are plus Teddy Bears that is actually listening to the show live. the music I requested that I wanted music pre 2000 because I think most music sucked. So, 8, what do you feel about this? I'm going to hit you with a little bit more, but can your ears pick up the fact that music is less varied and fuller today than it was in yesteryear?
Well, I think music has changed in a variety of ways, but at the end of the day, I'm one of those people that now I'm not a big fan of what's going on today. I'm not a big fan of music right now. I'm also kind of like you, pre-2000s, especially when it comes to hip hop. I think
definitely.
90s hip hop, and maybe it's because that's my era, but I think that was the greatest era in hip hop music. Period.
Yeah.
But
I'd have to agree.
At the same point in time, I do recognize that they have advanced in some ways, and they have taken hip hop to. Maybe it's not a level that I like, but they have advanced it in certain ways.
Please define advanced and give your example.
Yeah, because are you talking about marketing and monetization? Of course, they. I don't
even think in marketing and monetizing. Just because of, if you really want to look at it, I think artists were making more money in the '90s again, because there were actual real record sales.
And there was no downloads and stuff like that.
Right.
I understand that. I can understand. But
we had artists like Jay-Z selling 10 million units. And Nelly and guys like that moving a ridiculous amount of units. We're not going to see that anymore.
But give me the example, like Ken said, of some form of an advancement today.
When I say advancement, I'm talking about the sense of not necessarily lyricism, but the sense of doing different things with the artistry. Like for instance, when Ja Rule came with the whole singing on records, and 50 Cent started mimicking the singing on records. You
think that's an advancement? Because
listen. I'm not saying
Mary J. Blige and Method Man was before that, predated it, and that was in the '90s.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to tell you now is there's actual, because I look at Drake, it really is a singer. I look at him as a singer.
He is a singer. He's garbage.
But now we have somebody who actually is singing and rapping. So in a way that is now, like I said, you may not like it. I may not like it.
I know what you're trying to say, but what you're saying, I understand. And because I had to ask my brother about this, dude. I'm like, what is so special about this? He said, well, this guy would sing his own hooks rather than bringing someone else in. He would do all of the singing portions, sort of like if Lauryn Hill decided to on Miseducation to she basically did. She would sing her own hooks and she would also rhyme. But the difference is when I listen to Drake's lyrics, they're so juvenile. They're on like fourth grade reading level.
It's not all about lyricism to everybody. Like another for instance to me is the art of production. Now, once again, I love 90s production, but 90s production was way more sample-based than what the production is now.
No, you're absolutely right. Especially early 90s. Early 90s, it was all about...
All the way to obviously the late 70s is really all sample-based.
Yeah, it was all also, and I understand that, but still in all, I went recently to a Public Enemy concert, and the way in which samples were utilized at that point in time, because I guess they before they started getting arrested and all this other kind of stuff, they still arranged the songs. The arrangement of the samples was still different than the way it is today. For me today, after the first 30 seconds of the song, or I forgot how many bars that accounts for, you pretty much heard the song. You've heard the song. There's no arc to the song. It's like it comes on, the beat
drops.
Not
all of them.
Most of them. Even
Not
if what you're saying about Drake is correct, and I don't listen to Drake, so I really couldn't comment on it, which is why I've been sitting here silently. But even if what you're saying is correct, whenever the radio was put on, and Lord Christ, I was in someone's car yesterday, and it was on, and it was vile nonsense. First of all, I couldn't believe that I would see the day when Southern hip hop is played in this city. It is one of the worst things that's ever happened to rap music. It's garbage. It's horrible.
Should be burned.
Okay. But you know what though, and once again on that, and I understand, I'm an East Coast lover. I don't like down South music.
No, I don't like that stupid shit either.
You also have to remember, we not only did we invent it, but we held the title all the way up until about the mid-90s when the West Coast took over. And the West Coast took over for almost a decade there. Almost a decade. And out of the South.
That shit was garbage when they first came out.
But at the end of the day, it's going to travel. It's
going to travel, but
something else.
When you think about the West Coast, the stuff that came that was huge on the West Coast when they first started to take over, it's almost like they they wanted to let New Yorkers know, or let the East Coast know, that we can produce fly shit and we can put hardcore lyrics and all that kind of stuff. What the Southerners are doing now is basically making a mockery out of music. I mean, you're saying the same word, do the stanky leg.
See, but
do
look,
the stanky leg.
No, but if you even look
do
at
the stanky
if you
leg,
look
do the
at,
stanky leg.
No.
How
See,
the fuck
but
is that a lyric? How is that a song?
and now you're looking at it from your angle. But if you look at it from the South, you got to remember, Southern rap has always been dance music. Like in the 80s and 90s, when we look at Uncle Luke and everybody else coming out of the South, that's dance music. Now, has their dance music, evolved a little bit? Yeah, it has. Now, we don't like it. It may not be for us, but at the same time, they're known for dance music.
I'm glad you brought Luke up, because from the day Luke came on, we all thought Luke was garbage.
Garbage. He just had them
talent-wise, but he was smart enough to have asses and tits proliferating his video, and we didn't care at that
people
point.
actually liked his music.
And no, listen. When I went to the clubs, because back in those days I used to go to the clubs, and that shit would come on. That Doodoo Brown would come on. I loved that shit, because that usually meant some booty cheeks was clapping right in front of my meats.
Right.
So for that, but I didn't say that this was a good song. And then it's like one of those situations where, if I'm not in a situation where I'm going to be watching some jiggling ass or on some jiggling ass, then I'm not going to listen.
What's the name of those other trash ass dudes that had a song back in the day? 69 Boys.
There it is.
Remember the 69 Boys? Come on. Now that was down south hip hop then. It really wasn't popping, but that was the music that they came up on.
I'm
they
for
liked that type of
segregation.
music.
Keep that shit down there. I don't want to hear it up here. It makes my ears bleed.
Now, see that we're just talking about hip hop. I mean, this particular article is talking about just music, the way music in general. I used to say this all the time when I would get in arguments with people. I said, you could take an artist, let's say Drake, right? You could take Drake's vocals and put it on a Lil Wayne track. Like, remove Lil Wayne's voice, take Drake, put it there, and no one would know the difference, because it's all the same.
Because Drake writes most of Lil Wayne.
Yeah, I know. That's why I kind of use those examples. But still, when you have, like, back in my day or whatever, Eric B. and Rakim's production was totally different from Prince Paul's production, which was totally different from, let's say, Dr. Dre, from the RZA. They all had their own specific sound. So if I were to hear something like you were just playing this Black Sheep shit, and I was like, oh, that sounds like G-Rap. Who's this guy ripping off G-Rap? Because G-Rap had an identifiable sound, and other guys, producers, had an identifiable sound. Now it's like it doesn't really matter. It's like an assembly line of some shit, an input artist here.
Yeah, but what's even worse is that, and as this article goes on to say, it's about the pretty lights and colors.
Oh, you mean like putting sprinkles on shit?
Right. I mean, it's all about, one of the reasons, because you just said dance music, people don't listen to, again, we'll just use hip-hop as an example, for the lyrics anymore, because no one says any lyrics. It's all about, can you get motherfuckers to dance in a club? One of my favorite and hilarious moments, I used to watch I Love the 80s. And I think I told you about this. Seals and Croft, okay? Probably most of the people don't even know who the hell I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Seal or Sid and Marty Croft. I'm talking about Seals and Croft. They were a duo, like Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel, yeah. And
they were watching the video back in, what was it, late 70s or whatever, that they made this song. And
I think it was an early song.
Yeah, I understand. And I forgot.
Was it Summer Breeze?
It was Summer Breeze.
It was Summer Breeze.
And they had, the comedians making their jokes, and they said, these two guys look like beat up saddle tramps, weathered saddle tramps.
Well, the guy that made that Pina Colada song, remember? We like Pina Colada.
Yeah.
He looks like a fucking English. No, he looks like a wood shop teacher.
Right.
Because they wasn't trying to market, but
because back then they cared about the talent.
Yeah.
They weren't telling you that this worthless individual here with a six-pack has talent.
No.
I remember, again, one of the first times when I knew that music was corrupt is when Secret Garden came out with Barry White, El DeBarge,
Al B.
Shore, and what's the last guy, the slim light-skinned dude? James Taylor?
Christopher Williams?
No, it was like James Taylor, somebody else. Who can sing? And they caught Quincy Jones.
I think it was James Ingram.
James Ingram. And they caught Quincy Jones at a club. Eyes was bloodshot red because he was high as a motherfucker. And they was like, well, what was it like working with, Al B. Shore? And this man had the gall to look into the camera and say Albie Shore is one of the most talented singers he's ever worked with.
Shit. That was the cocaine. He was on the bath salts because that motherfucker was crazy.
I knew right then that music was over. That and Belle Biv DeVoe. But unfortunately, once again, we have to take a break. We'll be back. We will just finish this up and then go on to our next subject. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to play like a little medley of different coast music, if that's cool.
Yeah, pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Substitute crack. We're trying to